we've got to have a youth leader, a youth president, youth politicians, leaders within our country. I've answered the questions that what I see, my position on the level of communication between the Nigerian government and its people. There, it is very poor communication. And even every time the Nigeria want to question, want to speak, then they come under threat, they come under attack. And I think that we need to do more in the area of that communication. Probably Buhari must have been dealing with personal sickness, as he has been dealing with all the time he has been in power. Maybe that was the reason he needed to do a pre-recorded talk to the nation. I don't know. But that is what I presume, because we decide to vote for somebody who is 100 years old, who is close. I know he's not 100 years old. I know he's around 70 or over 70. But we are responsible, we Nigerian young population, we are responsible for all the mess, because in a country where that practice democracy and where the population of the society is more than half, that is a big strength for we, the young Nigerians, to take over the control of Nigeria and change who govern, who wield, who exercise the political power of our country, to shift it from the older generation to our new generation through a peaceful democratic process, because number is a powerful means in a society that practices democracy, because when you have a large number, then you are able to get the votes. So if all the youth in Nigeria will decide to come together and form a single political party and elect a credible technocrat among us, the vaccine that was just being invented in the United States, Nigerian scientist is one of the leading person. I think one of the top, the second leading person, scientists. We have many experts, many technocrats who have true intention for the Nigerian society. That we, the young, we have the power, because the power resides with us, the young population in Nigeria, because we operate democracy. We can take advantage of that democratic resource of population and change who govern us, and move the power from the older generation and place it among us, the young generation. Gone are those days when we used to say the leaders, the young ones are the leaders of tomorrow. No, we have to be the leaders of ourselves today. We have to take that leadership within our hands. To come back to your question again, we need to do a lot in terms of the effective communication. We have to bridge that wide gap. The leadership, the politician has to be humble enough to listen to the people and hear what they have to say, their criticism and their suggestion.
Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you. That'll be really very interesting. In that, it's very, very important, the issue of communication. If it's one of the attributes of a good leader, then the people who are in the position of authority in different parts of Africa should understand that Africans are not different people. They are like every other people in the world who need quality leadership. Of course, this is an argument that we are going to deal with again and again and again in this project on leadership. It's not something that we will deal with in one day. So we are just barely scratching the surface now. So all these attributes, all those other important aspects of leadership, we are going to revisit them again and again. Now, one thing I'm sort of curious about now, sort of an ambiguity, if I would call it like that, of the political situation in Africa, is that Africa as a continent or as a people are the youngest in the world. Why do we have to shift towards old people leading us? If we are talking of, if I take your word for it at the beginning of the video, that leadership should be about leading, which is you need to come from the root word, which is lead. Where are these old people leading us? Whether you are talking of the president of Cameroon, for example, who have been there for years and years and years. Then, okay, in Nigeria, where we say we have democracy, then we continuously elect people who are sort of, who are short of the expectation of the people. Because then it will appear as if in Nigeria, these are the best. Well, it is not supposed to be like that, because leadership, or for the people to succeed in this time that we are, which is a very fast time with a lot of resources available, we really do need to pick out the best, or one of the best among us to lead. We don't need to manage people. We don't need a leader that we can be managing as a kind of an emergency. I think we have gone beyond that. So how do you react to this ambiguity that in the youngest continent in the world, the people who often come to the position of authority are very old people? Of course, not in all cases, not in all the countries of Africa. But you can see that is a trend here. I want you to respond to that.
Yeah, it's a trend. It's a phenomenon that is happening, and I think the older generation who have been in the position of leadership for so long, they have a lot of control of the power, of the resources, of the wealth. For example, look at some of the young leaders, presidential aspirants at the last presidential election in Nigeria. Most of them, they're not as wealthy as those older generation who came to contest for the same position. So they have a lot of resources to control, to manipulate, and at the end of the day, to win the election. Because how much authority, how much power, and the resources that you yourself have at your disposal will go a long way to. It's a very big factor that can pave the way for you to be accepted as a leader. In this case, within our sector, So how many of those young aspirants actually had a lot of as much resources as the older generation has? So older generation, they are kind of custodians of how the system, the structure works, because they were the one that built the structure. The structure has not been collapsed. So the structure is still existing. So as long as the structure is still existing, they will always have the presidency, and they will have the dominance. The older generation will have the dominance. Except the structure is changed, is reorganized and restructured, and then we will not be able, really, the young generation, be able to conquer and oust or wrest the control, the control and the political power from the older generation. So we, the young Africans, we really need to unite. There has to be a unity. There has to be a unity among all the young African youth, both home and abroad, and find a way to enthrone ourselves as that is the biggest question. How do we? That's my question, my bigger question. How do we wrest the control of power from the older generation and bring it to our domain? Is one of the biggest questions, because the fundamental problems of the society. I know there are countries who are doing well in Africa. There are many countries. There are cities are emerging. I know we have a lot of expert scientists. You have them. We shouldn't just define the continent with a single story. We have a lot of brilliant, intelligent at the world-class level. Millions of them, both home and abroad. For example, in the UK, there are over 4,000 Nigerian medical doctors. In the US, there are over 5,000. The brain drain is so high. We go to Canada, we have a lot of them. So how do we concentrate these energy, this intellect, these forces, this power, this resource, and put it to work within the country of Africa is the biggest challenge.
Hey, I hope you're having a good value for this podcast. Now, in case you want to improve yourself, we do have an e-learning community where you can learn anything from learning how to use computer, build a website, or set up a home business for yourself. All these and many more are available by becoming a member of our e-learning community. And it costs you as little as 65 cents per day. Of course, this is something anybody can afford. How do you get started? It's simple. Just go to Google and type aclasses.org or write me a personal email at obehi@aclasses.org, and we will set you up for your self-improvement journey faster than you can imagine. I repeat, aclasses.org or obehi@aclasses.org. Now, let's return to the podcast.
That is my biggest question that I am trying to propose an answer to. That is, like I said, the structure is existing that was built by the older generation. And as long as that structure is existing, for example, in Nigeria, there's a structure of political structure that is existing. It was built by the regime of Buhari, of Obasanjo, of Tinubu, of all those older generation. And all of the younger generation, the next generation to them, like those governors and the rest of them, those are the godfathers that handpick these and pull them and project them. So those structures still existed. As long as those structures existed, the power will always remain with those people who created a structure and whose structure is operating within the society. So our biggest challenge is, how do we upset the structure and set up a new structure by ourselves?
Okay, now we are looking at the resources that are available. Now, in your explanation, it is because there is a structure that is in place which sort of favor the older generation that are there, no?
Exactly.
Of course, this older generation has sort of also been favored by those who created the system. Okay, talking of the post-independence Africa, these people, of course, have been favored by the colonial masters, no? Because they have sort of carried out the heritage of representing them who are outside Africa, so that the African leader at the point doesn't even seem to be representing the local people. This also is reflected in the kind of communication that is there between the African people and the African leaders, because it appears that they are not really leading over the people in the sense of leading them for the interest of the people. They are sort of managing the people for the interest of other people, so that is why it is very easy for them, of course, to loot and to take the money away and take it abroad to hide them, because they don't care about the local people. All right, now, but let's come back to this structure and to the time that we are in today. It is understood, or it is easily argued by many experts in leadership sector, that influence is one of the key elements in leadership, which means the person who is able to maintain an influence over another has a lot of power over that person upon whom he has an influence. By that I mean, when you were making mention of the thousands of Africans in diaspora, the Nigerians in diaspora, for example, in the UK, in US, in Canada, in other parts of the Western world, who of course are very bright, enlightened, have the capacity to be able to communicate and network and know how the system works. I look at these people to be influential. I look at these people to be powerful. You know, of course, you can also be powerful, but give your power away to some other persons to manage the power, because you don't know that you have power. So how do we then manage this extreme potency in our hands? This kind of generation are very fast. They are not limited by borders. They are not limited by even languages. They are able to network and organize. Okay, listen, I am here in Italy and I'm communicating with you. You are in Malta, no? Do we have any difficulty communicating among ourselves? We can connect to somebody. We can connect with somebody that is in Canada, in US, in Lagos, or in Kaduna. We don't have any limitation because we are in this time. But if we are not reasoning with this kind of mentality, it becomes very easy for us to give our power away. So I see the younger generations of Africa in tune with this kind of new power, with this kind of new paradigm of able to network, interconnect, and these have to also play a part, play a pivotal role in our politics. I understand perfectly that a lot of the younger generations in Africa have been miseducated politically, so that their political consciousness is watering. Many of us have not been educated to be proud of who we are, even to be proud of our nations, to be proud of holding our flag and really be running with it with all the pride in it. We have not been educated like this. Because if we have been educated like this, then we will really stand on that and make sure whoever is abusing that power, abusing that privilege that is guaranteed by the Constitution, is not permitted, even at the cost of losing our life. You get what I'm saying? So how do we, I'm like sort of trying to put back the question to you. How do we explore this power? Because we are very powerful. We are more powerful than those in the position of authority. How do this young generation manage to dismantle that structure that is not representing the people so that we can have quality leader? Because you look at Nigeria, for example, like you have correctly pointed out, we have very interesting, intelligent, smart individuals, from captains of industry to even politics, but they are never in the position of authority. When it comes to elected president, governors, we often get those who are shortcoming, who are not able to deliver. Whereas those who are able to deliver by their standard of mindset, their philosophy, their education, are left there to rot. How do we take hold of this power? How do these young people, young Africans, take hold of this power in Cameroon, in Nigeria, in other parts of Africa, so that we, as by definition, the younger people in the world, can also have young people in politics who are able to understand the basis of why we need to invest in technology, of why we need to have stable light. We don't really necessarily need to pray over these things. We can create it because light has been invented for hundreds of years ago. We are able to understand how it functions. If we have deficiency in this area, we can study and learn it. We can go to those who know how to do it. But we'll be able to do this one when we understand that the power lies within us, that nobody is coming to resolve the problem for us. How do we take hold of this power among the young people? How?
It's a puzzle that every one of us is trying to find the accurate answers to. Myself, I wouldn't really say I have 100% definite answer to this question, because it's a puzzle. It's a really, really puzzle. Because if we are able to find an answer to this question and initiate a process that will bring about that will bring that question true, that will make us to live and practice the answer, then of course it will result in a solution. But I am proposing to you that is the solution. That is the solution. But first, my answer to the question, in my own capacity, what I think is, it has to start from the level of our individuality, individual self. Every person must work on to develop their respective potential. They must work on to contribute that their personal value, their personal skills, and access to their society, to the society, regardless what the government is doing. We have to start from the individual level. We have to, first of all, change our individual self before that change will not reflect on the society at large. But I believe it's got to start with us first, individually. How many Nigerians, first of all, have this kind of patriotic thinking that both of us hold? You will find that there are few. I think 2 days ago, there's this influential Nigerian pastor in the Ukraine. He shared a post on Facebook and people were commenting on it. And that post, the content was a content that was demystifying the values of the Africa, you know. And because these people, I see that they don't even understand even the African history and the contributions of the Black nations of the African to the human society. So I spend hours trying to give them the right information, what it is and how it is. There are millions of brilliant, extremely creative extremely creative African. First of all, like the space satellite that the American, for example, launched, you know, it wouldn't have been successful if not for the African Americans, for example. We have several Africans who are contributing, leading in the area of IT, in science and technology. So you will be wrong. And this is a continent that is as equal size as America, Europe, China, and India put together. You cannot define it by a single story. So this is a matter of individual. You know, you can find creative people anywhere and everywhere. So it's a matter of what are you contributing yourself. Me, that is, for example, each of us, both of us, we are yearning. Our yearning is to see a big change in the African setting. The question would be, what are we contributing from our own level? Are we all relying, waiting for the big change to come from the top? Yes, of course, we know that those are the people who are actually in a position to make a dramatic decision that will result in a spectacular turnaround for the situation. But our own level, at our individual level, what are we contributing at our level? So that is the question. So every one of us got to be able to recognize our various potential, our individual potential rather, and develop it and contribute it to the society. Okay, so we must be proud of our heritage. We must study our value system, who we are, and the area and where we've mixed it in the past, and then begin to correct those things that we have done wrong, and then begin to develop the right approach ourselves, you know, and begin to contribute. For example, let's see, for example, every Nigerians are I know most Nigerians, they are energetic, they are passionate, and they are contributing, whether consciously or unconsciously, at their own respective level to the system, to the well-being and the betterment of the society. But except the government, there is a big change from the side of the government. The contribution that we are making will not really be felt and be seen and go a long way to make a big change. But I think that I propose that we must, as individual persons, do the best that we can do as individuals and to our society. For example, I did a research recently, to educate myself and also the rest of people who have not been taught about the simple African history. And because it's your knowledge of your own history that gives you the pride of yourself. And when you are proud of yourself, then that is a good atmosphere for creativity, for innovation, and for self-reliance. See, this bloody political system we have in our country has not taught us self-reliance. Look at Nigeria, for example. Just Google it, the young, talented Nigeria. You will see many creativity all around. You see many young Nigerians creating power, developing electricity, self-sustained electricity from local resources. In a wise leaders who are wise, we invest billions of naira into this innovation, into these ideas, and bring all our best experts and bring all our academic, our university or the educational system and say, okay, let's go into research. Let's see how we can make this better. Let's see how we can turn this and improve on this simple technological creation and to benefit the whole society. A country that is great can only be self-reliant. You can never derive a power or a force and workforce from outside of your territory that will to develop yourself, and you will never be able to sustain that growth. Even if you attain a certain development, a certain growth by sourcing power from external forces, you will not be able to sustain it because you were not fundamental to the building, to the creation of that greatness. So a country that is great and have a sustainable greatness and a greatness that is exponentially increasing, got to be able to build a system that relies on itself, that derives the power, the workforce from within its own structure, from within its own local talents, national talents, and potential. These bloody political leaders we've got in our countries in Africa have make us to think less of ourselves and more of the outsiders. Why? Because they are kind of the leaders, the regime that took over from the colonial past. And so that mentality is still in them. But I am promising you that the era that we are is what I call the era of awakening. A lot of young Africans, a lot of young Nigeria, they are getting awake. They are aware, at least they are aware of what is going on, of what needs to be done, of their potential. They are aware of their potential, of where they ought to be, of the problem that is limiting us. They are aware. And I think that is a good step in the right direction.